Hashtag alien doctors panicked. The human should be unconscious, but he kept fighting. The emergency beacon screamed through the darkness of space, its desperate signal cutting through the void like a knife. The Galactic Medical Response Ship Serenity's Hope received the distress call while patrolling the Outer Rim territories. Captain Zexhai, a tall insectoid being with 4 arms and compound eyes, immediately ordered his crew to investigate. "Captain, the signal is coming from a small transport vessel," reported Navigator Teatrus, her tentacles dancing over the control panel. "It appears to be of human origin." Zexhai clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. Humans were still relatively new to the galactic community, having joined only 50 years ago. Most species found them fascinating but primitive with their crude medical knowledge and simple biology. The captain had treated exactly 3 humans in his 40-year career, and each time had been surprised by their basic physiological responses. "Set course immediately," Zexhai ordered. "Prepare the medical bay for unknown casualties." The Serenity's Hope was one of the most advanced medical vessels in the galaxy, equipped with technology from dozens of different species. The crew consisted of medical experts from various worlds, each bringing their unique knowledge to help any being in need. Dr. Kethvar, a crystalline being whose body could analyze molecular structures, served as the chief surgeon. Dr. Yilna, a gaseous entity capable of precise chemical manipulation, handled pharmaceutical needs. The team had saved thousands of lives across hundreds of species. As they approached the damaged human vessel, the extent of the catastrophe became clear. The small transport ship had been caught in an asteroid field, its hull breached in multiple places. Atmosphere leaked from several wounds in the metal skin, and the ship's systems flickered weakly. "Life signs detected," announced Dr. Kethvar, his crystalline form glowing as he scanned the vessel. "One human, severely injured. We need to move quickly." The rescue was swift, but complicated. The human had been trapped in the ship's cargo hold when it depressurized. His protective suit had multiple tiers, and he had been exposed to the vacuum of space for at least 20 minutes. When a medical team finally extracted him, he was unconscious, his body temperature dangerously low, and his vital signs barely detectable. "Get him to surgery immediately," Zexhai commanded as they brought the human aboard. "What's his condition?" Dr. Kethvar's body pulsed with diagnostic light as he examined the patient. "Severe decompression injuries, multiple fractures, internal bleeding, and prolonged oxygen deprivation. His brain has been without proper oxygen for far too long. According to human medical databases, he should have suffered irreversible brain damage after 6 minutes. He's been exposed for over 20 minutes." The human male appeared to be in his 30s, with dark hair and a lean build typical of space workers. His identification listed him as Marcus Chun, a cargo hauler from the Earth colony on Kepler 442b. His medical records showed no unusual conditions, no genetic modifications, nothing to suggest he was anything other than a standard human. In the surgical bay, the alien medical team worked with practiced efficiency. Dr. Yilna released specialized gases that would help stabilize the human's cellular structure, while Dr. Kethvar used his natural abilities to seal internal injuries at the molecular level. Several other medical specialists assisted with various advanced procedures that went far beyond anything human medicine could provide. "Administering Zilithian sleep agent," announced Dr. Plix, a small mammalian creature whose species had perfected non-invasive anesthesia. "This compound should keep any conscious being in deep unconsciousness for at least 12 hours, regardless of species." The purple mist settled over Marcus's face, and his already weak vital signs became even more subdued. The medical team began their work, confident that their patient would remain unconscious throughout the lengthy procedure. 2 hours into the surgery, something unprecedented happened. Marcus's eyes suddenly snapped open. Dr. Kethvar paused mid-procedure, his crystalline body flickering with surprise. "That's impossible. The sleep agent should keep him under for hours longer." Marcus tried to sit up, his eyes wide and unfocused. His mouth moved as if trying to speak, but only weak sounds emerged. The medical restraints held him in place, but he continued to struggle against them. "Increase the dosage," Zexhai ordered, moving closer to the surgical table. He must be having some kind of adverse reaction. Dr. Plix doubled the amount of sleep agent, filling the air around Marcus with the purple mist. For a moment, the human's movements slowed, and his eyes began to close. The medical team resumed their work, relieved that the situation was under control. 20 minutes later, Marcus's eyes opened again. This time, he was more alert. His gaze moved around the surgical bay, taking in the alien faces surrounding him. When he saw Dr. Kethvar's crystalline form hovering over his chest, he tried to speak. Only a hoarse whisper emerged, but the universal translator picked up his words. Where am I? The entire medical team froze. No being had ever remained conscious under a full dose of Zilithian sleep agent, let alone spoke coherently. This is medically impossible. Dr. Yilna's gaseous form swirled with agitation. His brain scans show he's experiencing the full effects of the sleep agent. He should be completely unconscious. Marcus tried again to sit up, his muscles straining against the restraints. My ship, what happened to my ship? Captain Zexhai approached the table, his compound eyes studying the human with newfound interest. Your vessel was damaged in an asteroid field. You've been severely injured. We're trying to help you, but you need to remain still. I feel strange, Marcus said, his voice growing stronger despite the ongoing surgical procedures. But I need to get back to my ship. I have a delivery to make. Dr. Kethvar's form pulsed with diagnostic light as he scanned Marcus's brain. Captain, this is extraordinary. The sleep agent is definitely in his system and affecting his neural pathways, but somehow his consciousness is fighting through it. It's as if his mind is refusing to surrender control. The surgical team found themselves in an unprecedented situation. They needed to continue the life-saving procedures, but their patient remained conscious and aware throughout everything. Marcus watched them work, occasionally asking questions about their techniques or commenting on the strange sensations he felt. Does that crystal thing always glow like that? Marcus asked as Dr. Kethvar repaired damage to his lungs. It's actually kind of beautiful. You shouldn't be able to feel anything, Dr. Plix said, his fur standing on end with nervousness. The pain suppressors should have completely numbed your entire body. Marcus considered this. I can feel what you're doing, but it doesn't hurt much. It's more like pressure, and there's this weird tingling sensation. Dr. Yilna released another cloud of pain-blocking chemicals, specifically formulated for human physiology. Marcus blinked as the gas settled around him, then shrugged as much as the restraints allowed. That smells like mint, he said conversationally. I like mint. The medical team exchanged worried glances. They were dealing with injuries that should have killed this human hours ago, treating him with drugs that should have rendered him completely unconscious, and yet he was not only aware, but making casual conversation. As the surgery continued, Marcus's resilience became even more apparent. When Dr. Kethvar began repairing the damage from decompression, Marcus watched the process with obvious fascination. So you can actually see inside my body and fix things at the molecular level? Marcus asked. That's incredible. How long did it take your species to develop that ability? Several million years of evolution. Dr. Kethvar replied automatically, still bewildered by the situation. But you shouldn't be conscious to appreciate it. I've always been a light sleeper, Marcus said with a weak smile. My mom used to say I'd wake up if a feather fell in the next room. Captain Zexhai found himself drawn into the conversation despite the bizarre circumstances. How are you feeling? Honestly, Marcus took a moment to assess his condition. Tired, really tired, and everything feels sort of disconnected, like I'm floating in water. But my mind is clear. I know where I am, I know what's happening, and I can think just fine. That should be impossible, Dr. Yilna whispered. The combination of trauma, oxygen deprivation, and medical intervention should have shut down his consciousness completely. Maybe humans are tougher than you think, Marcus suggested. We've had to be, you know. Earth isn't exactly the most hospitable planet in the galaxy. This comment sparked something in Dr. Kethvar's memory. He accessed the galactic database while continuing his work, searching for information about human evolution and physiology. Fascinating, he murmured as data flowed through his crystalline matrix. Humans evolved on a planet with frequent natural disasters, predators, diseases, and environmental hazards. Their entire evolutionary history is one of surviving impossible circumstances. That explains the physical resilience, Captain Zexhai said, but not the mental resistance to our medical interventions. Marcus chuckled weakly. You should see us when we're really determined to stay awake. I once pulled 3 all-nighters in a row during academy training. The instructors couldn't believe it. As the surgery progressed, Marcus continued to defy every medical expectation. When the team administered powerful healing accelerators that should have sent him into a deep regenerative coma, he remained alert and talkative. When they used neural stabilizers to prevent brain damage, he started asking detailed questions about the equipment and procedures. Is that thing reading my thoughts? Marcus asked, pointing at a scanner with his eyes. It's monitoring your neural activity, Dr. Plix explained nervously, making sure your brain functions remain stable. What do you see? Dr. Plix hesitated, then decided honesty was the best approach given the unusual circumstances. Your brain is showing patterns we've never encountered before. There's simultaneous activity in regions that should be dormant under anesthesia, coupled with extreme focus in areas associated with conscious thought and survival instincts. Sound about right, Marcus said. I've always been good in crisis situations. Something about adrenaline and stubbornness, I guess. The surgery took 8 hours total, far longer than originally planned due to the complexity of working on a conscious patient. Throughout the entire procedure, Marcus remained awake and aware, commenting on the techniques, asking questions, and even offering suggestions based on his limited knowledge of human anatomy. When they finally finished, the medical team stood around the surgical table in amazement. Marcus had survived injuries that should have killed him, remained conscious through medical interventions that should have rendered him comatose, and maintained his sense of humor throughout the entire ordeal. How do you feel now? Captain Zexai asked. Marcus carefully tested his movements as the restraints were removed. Better. Much better. Whatever you did worked. He sat up slowly, looking around at the alien faces surrounding him. Thank you. All of you. I know this wasn't what you expected when you picked up my distress signal. Dr. Kethvar's crystalline form pulsed thoughtfully. Marcus Chun of Earth, you have presented us with the most medically significant case any of us have encountered. Your species may be far more remarkable than the galaxy realizes. We're just stubborn, Marcus said with a grin. Really, really stubborn. As a medical team helped Marcus to a recovery room, they knew they had witnessed something extraordinary. The humans' refusal to succumb to unconsciousness wasn't just unusual. It was impossible by every known standard of galactic medicine. But Marcus Chun had done anyway. And that was only the beginning of what they would discover about human resilience. The recovery room aboard the Serenity's Hope was designed for comfort and healing, with adjustable atmospheric conditions and gravity fields to accommodate different species. Marcus Chun sat on the edge of the medical bed, his legs swinging slightly as he examined the alien technology around him. He should have been unconscious for at least another day, according to every medical protocol the crew knew. Instead, he was asking for something to eat. I'm sorry, but you need to understand. Dr. Yilna's gaseous form swirled with agitation as she hovered near the ceiling. We administered enough sedatives to keep a Garathian battle beast unconscious for a week. A Garathian weighs 3 times what you do and has a metabolism designed to resist toxins. Marcus shrugged, seemingly unbothered by this information. I feel fine. A little hungry, actually. Do you have anything that resembles food? Or do your species not eat solid matter? Captain Zexai observed from the doorway, his compound eyes taking in every detail of the human's behavior. In 40 years of medical service, he had never encountered anything like this. The human's casualness about his impossible condition was almost as baffling as the condition itself. Dr. Kethvar entered the room, his crystalline form dimmed with exhaustion from the long surgery. I've been analyzing your cellular structure, he said to Marcus. There are several anomalies I can't explain. Anomalies? Marcus asked, genuinely curious. What kind? Your cells show signs of extreme stress and damage, which is expected given your injuries. However, they're healing at a rate that shouldn't be possible without advanced technological intervention. More importantly, your neural pathways are actively fighting against chemical interference. Marcus nodded thoughtfully. My grandmother always said our family was hard to put down. She lived through 3 different plagues on Earth, survived a transport crash that killed everyone else aboard, and worked in the mines until she was 90. She said humans are like weeds. We grow anywhere, and we're tough to kill. This goes beyond family genetics. Dr. Plix interjected, his small mammalian form perched on a nearby chair. I've studied the brain chemistry of over 400 species. What you're doing is literally impossible. Maybe impossible is just another word for hasn't been done yet, Marcus suggested. Humans have a pretty long history of doing impossible things. Dr. Yilna shifted her gaseous form into a more compact shape, indicating deep thought. Tell us about your species' medical practices. How do humans typically handle surgery and healing? Marcus considered this question seriously. Well, we've gotten pretty good at it over the centuries. We started with basic surgery and gradually developed more advanced techniques. But honestly, a lot of human medicine is about working with the body's natural healing processes rather than replacing them. Natural healing processes? Dr. Kethvar's form brightened with interest. Explain. Humans have this thing called an immune system, Marcus began, settling into a more comfortable position. It fights off diseases, infections, and helps repair damage. We also have something called adrenaline that kicks in during emergencies. It makes us stronger, faster, and more resistant to pain and fatigue. The alien medical team exchanged glances. They were familiar with these concepts from a human medical database, but they had assumed they were primitive, outdated systems. You're suggesting that your consciousness remained active because of these evolutionary adaptations? Captain Zexai asked. Maybe, Marcus said. I mean, think about it from an evolutionary perspective. If you're a human in trouble, falling unconscious could mean death. So our bodies and minds are designed to keep fighting even when everything says we should give up. Dr. Plix pulled up a holographic display of human brain scans. Look at this. During the surgery, his brain showed activity patterns consistent with extreme stress response. His mind was essentially treating the medical intervention as a survival threat. So my brain was fighting you even though you were helping me? Marcus asked with a chuckle. That sounds about right. Humans aren't always rational, especially when we're scared or hurt. But you didn't seem scared, Dr. Yilna observed. You were making jokes and asking questions throughout the procedure. Marcus thought about this. I was scared, terrified actually, but fear and panic don't help in a crisis. My training kicked in. Assess the situation, gather information, stay calm, and keep fighting until the threat is over. Training? Captain Zexai asked. I'm a cargo hauler, but before that I was in Earth's Colonial Defense Force. We're taught to stay conscious and functional even under extreme stress. The instructors used to say that an unconscious soldier is a dead soldier. This revelation cast the human's behavior in a new light. The medical team began to understand that they weren't just dealing with unusual biology. They were working with a being who had been trained to resist exactly the kind of interventions they had used. Dr. Kethvar accessed more detailed information about human military training. Fascinating. Your species actually trains individuals to resist chemical and psychological manipulation. This includes maintaining consciousness under adverse conditions. Every human soldier learns basic resistance techniques, Marcus confirmed. It's not perfect, but it helps. We're taught to focus on specific thoughts or memories that keep us anchored to consciousness. What were you thinking about during the surgery? Dr. Plix asked with genuine scientific curiosity. Marcus smiled. My daughter. She's 6 years old and lives on the Mars colony with her mother. I was supposed to deliver a shipment of medical supplies to her school. I kept thinking that if I fell asleep, I might not wake up, and she'd be waiting for me. The simplicity and power of this motivation struck the alien medical team silent. They had used the most advanced technology in the galaxy to try to render this human unconscious, but he had defeated it through sheer emotional will. Your daughter was enough to overcome medical science? Dr. Yilna asked in wonder. You don't have children, do you? Marcus said gently. When you're a parent, giving up isn't an option. Ever. Captain Zexai felt something shift in his understanding of humans. His species reproduced through biological processes that didn't involve the same emotional bonds. The concept of love being strong enough to resist advanced medical technology was completely foreign to him. We need to understand this better, Dr. Kethvar said. Would you be willing to undergo some additional tests? Nothing invasive, just scans and observations. Marcus nodded readily. Sure, as long as it helps you help other people. What do you want to know? Over the next several hours, the medical team ran extensive tests on Marcus. They discovered that his physiology was indeed remarkable, but not in ways they had expected. His cellular structure was typical for humans, his brain chemistry was normal, and his genetic markers showed nothing unusual. The extraordinary factor was something they couldn't measure directly: his mental state. "Look at these neural pathway readings," Dr. Plick said, displaying the results on a holographic screen. "When we introduced mild stressors during the tests, his brain activity shifted into patterns we've never seen before." "What kind of patterns?" Marcus asked, examining the colorful display with interest. "Your mind appears to create backup pathways when primary functions are threatened," Dr. Kethvar explained. "It's as if your consciousness has multiple fail-safes to prevent shutdown." "That makes sense," Marcus said. "Humans have always had to deal with brain injuries, diseases, and toxins. I guess we evolved ways to keep thinking even when parts of our brain are damaged." Dr. Yilna had been analyzing the chemical composition of Marcus's blood throughout the tests. "There's something else. Your body is producing compounds we don't recognize. They appear to be natural chemicals, but they're acting like sophisticated pharmaceutical agents." "What do they do?" "They seem to counteract foreign chemical influences while enhancing your natural healing and awareness processes," she replied. "It's as if your body has its own internal pharmacy that activates during stress." Marcus laughed. "My mom always said humans were walking chemistry sets. We produce all kinds of weird stuff when we need to." The tests continued, and each result was more surprising than the last. Marcus's reflexes were enhanced beyond normal human parameters. His pain tolerance was extraordinary. His ability to maintain focus under distraction was off the charts. But most remarkably, his capacity to resist unconsciousness seemed to strengthen with each attempt to induce it. "It's learning, Dr. Kethvar said with amazement as he reviewed the data. "His nervous system is actually adapting to our interventions in real time." "Is that unusual?" Marcus asked. "It's impossible," Dr. Plix replied. "Nervous systems don't adapt that quickly. It should take generations of evolution to develop resistance to specific chemical agents." "Maybe human nervous systems are more flexible than you think," Marcus suggested. "We've had to adapt quickly to survive on dozens of different worlds with different atmospheric conditions, gravity levels, and environmental threats." Captain Zexai had been observing quietly, but now he stepped forward. "Marcus, I need to ask you something important. Have you ever been in a situation like this before? Injured, unconscious, treated with alien medical technology?" "No, this is my first time meeting non-humans," Marcus replied. "But I've been in plenty of other bad situations. Ship failures, environmental emergencies, combat scenarios during my military service. I've always managed to stay conscious when it mattered." "Always?" Marcus considered this. "Well, there was one time during training when I was exposed to a gas that was supposed to knock out anyone in seconds. I stayed awake for over an hour. The instructors thought there was something wrong with the gas at first. What happened? Eventually they figured out that some humans just don't go down easy. They called it adaptive resistance, the idea that if you've been through enough dangerous situations, your body learns to fight back against anything that tries to shut it down." This revelation sparked intense discussion among the medical team. The concept of adaptive resistance wasn't entirely unknown in galactic medicine, but it was usually seen in species that had evolved in extremely hostile environments over millions of years. "How long have humans been spacefaring?" Dr. Yilna asked. "About 200 years for basic space travel, 50 years for interstellar exploration," Marcus answered. "That's impossible," Dr. Plick said immediately. "Adaptive resistance takes millennia to develop, not decades." Marcus grinned. "You keep using that word, impossible. Maybe you need a new word." As the day progressed, Marcus's condition continued to improve at an unprecedented rate. His injuries were healing faster than should have been possible even with advanced medical technology. His energy levels were returning to normal. Most significantly, every attempt to induce unconsciousness in him met with failure. "We need to contact the Galactic Medical Council," Captain Zexai said during a private meeting with his medical staff. "This changes everything we thought we knew about human physiology." "More than that," Dr. Kethvar replied. "This changes everything we thought we knew about the limits of biological consciousness." Marcus Chun, meanwhile, had found the ship's communication system and was trying to contact his daughter on Mars. His simple determination to keep a promise to a 6-year-old had revealed capabilities that the galaxy's most advanced medical science couldn't explain. And they were just beginning to understand what humans were truly capable of. News of Marcus Chen's impossible recovery spread through the galactic medical community like wildfire. Within hours of Captain Zexai's report to the Galactic Medical Council, the Serenity's Hope received priority communications from medical research facilities across 12 different sectors. Dr. Veltar, the Council's chief xenobiologist, appeared on the ship's main view screen as a shimmering hologram. Her ethereal form pulsed with colors that indicated extreme scientific excitement. Captain Zexai, we need complete biological samples, full neural mapping, and detailed behavioral analysis of this human immediately, she announced without preamble. What you've described challenges fundamental principles of galactic medicine. Marcus, who was sitting nearby eating what the ship's synthesizer had produced as human food, looked up with interest. That sounds important. What exactly did I do? Dr. Veltar's attention focused on him with laser-like intensity. You remained conscious under medical intervention that should have rendered you comatose for days. You healed from injuries that should have killed you. You demonstrated adaptive resistance to pharmaceutical agents that have worked on every known species for thousands of years. Okay, Marcus said, taking another bite of synthetic protein. So what does that mean? It means, Dr. Veltar replied, that either our understanding of consciousness and biology is fundamentally flawed, or your species possesses capabilities we never imagined possible. Over the next day, the Serenity's Hope was joined by 3 other research vessels. Teams of specialists from across the galaxy arrived to study the human who had defied medical science. Marcus found himself the center of attention from beings he had never heard of, representing civilizations that had mastered medical technology when Earth was still in its Stone Age. Dr. Nexus, a hive-mind entity consisting of thousands of microscopic organisms, conducted the most detailed neural analysis ever performed on a living being. Dr. Morpheus, a shape-shifting researcher who could literally become medical equipment, performed tests that would have been impossible with conventional technology. Dr. Quantum, a being of pure energy who existed partially outside normal space-time, analyzed Marcus's consciousness at the subatomic level. Marcus took it all in stride with the same calm determination he had shown throughout his surgery. So what have you learned? He asked after 2 days of intensive testing. Dr. Nexus's collective voice buzzed with confusion. Your neural pathways show characteristics we've never encountered. When faced with external threats to consciousness, your brain creates new connections in real time to maintain awareness. That sounds useful, Marcus said. I guess evolution gave us good backup systems. This goes beyond evolutionary backup systems, Dr. Morpheus interjected, currently shaped like a tall, silver humanoid. Your mind is actively rewriting itself to resist any attempt at unconsciousness. It's learning and adapting faster than should be biologically possible. Dr. Quantum's energy form flickered with patterns that conveyed deep thought. There's something else. When we examine your consciousness at the quantum level, we detect interference patterns that suggest your awareness exists partially outside normal space-time. Marcus blinked. I'm sorry. What does that mean in simple terms? It means, Dr. Veltar explained, that part of your consciousness might exist in dimensions we can't fully access or understand. This could explain why physical and chemical interventions have limited effect on your awareness. That sounds like science fiction, Marcus said with a chuckle. So does everything else you've done, Dr. Kethvar pointed out. Perhaps humans are more science fiction than anyone realized. As the research continued, disturbing news arrived from other parts of the galaxy. Reports were flooding in of similar incidents involving humans in medical emergencies. A human merchant who had survived vacuum exposure for over an hour while remaining conscious. A human engineer who had worked for 3 days straight while infected with a virus that should have killed him in hours. A human diplomat who had continued negotiating while under the influence of truth serums that should have left her completely compliant. This isn't just Marcus, Captain Zexai reported to the assembled research team. This is happening with humans across the galaxy. We just never noticed because we assumed they were isolated incidents or reporting errors. Dr. Veltar's form brightened with realization. We need to contact Earth immediately. If this represents a species-wide capability, it changes everything about humanity's place in the galactic community. The communication to Earth took several hours to establish, given the distance and the need for high-security diplomatic channels. When the connection finally came through, they found themselves speaking with Dr. Sarah Martinez, Earth's chief medical officer and the human government's liaison to galactic medical organizations. Dr. Martinez appeared on the screen as a middle-aged woman with gray hair and intelligent eyes. She listened carefully as the alien researchers explained their discoveries about Marcus and the other human incidents. "I see," she said when they finished. "You're wondering if this is normal for humans. Is it?" Dr. Veltar asked directly. Dr. Martinez smiled. "Define normal. Is it typical for humans to resist unconsciousness when they're determined to stay awake? Yes. Is it common for humans to continue functioning under conditions that should incapacitate them? Absolutely. Do we think of this as extraordinary? Not particularly." The alien researchers exchanged glances of amazement. Dr. Martinez, Captain Zexai, said carefully, "Are you telling us that your entire species possesses these capabilities?" "To varying degrees, yes," she replied. "It's one of the reasons we've been successful as a spacefaring civilization. When things go wrong, and they always go wrong in space, humans tend to keep functioning when other species might give up." Dr. Nexus buzzed with agitation. "Why didn't you tell us this when humanity joined the galactic community?" "You never asked," Dr. Martinez said simply. "And honestly, we didn't think it was that unusual. Every species has its strengths." Marcus, who had been listening to this exchange, spoke up. "Dr. Martinez, they seem to think what I did was impossible. I just stayed awake during surgery and healed for some injuries. Is that really such a big deal?" Dr. Martinez's expression became more serious. "Marcus, what exactly did you do?" As Marcus recounted his experience, Dr. Martinez's eyebrows rose steadily higher. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "That's more impressive than usual, even for a human," she admitted, "but not unheard of. There are documented cases of humans performing similar feats." "Similar feats?" Dr. Quantum flickered with disbelief. "What your species considers similar would be legendary achievements for any other race." Dr. Martinez nodded thoughtfully. "I think we need to have a much longer conversation about human capabilities and how they compare to galactic norms. We may have been understating our abilities." Over the next several hours, Dr. Martinez shared information about human resilience that left the alien researchers stunned. Stories of humans surviving in conditions that would kill other species in minutes. Tales of human soldiers fighting for days without sleep or food. Reports of humans maintaining consciousness and decision-making ability under extreme physical and mental stress. "The problem," Dr. Martinez explained, "is that we've always assumed other species were equally resilient. When we join the galactic community, we try to fit in rather than showcase our differences. But these capabilities could revolutionize medicine across the galaxy," Dr. Veltar protested. "The implications for trauma treatment, consciousness research, and neural adaptation are staggering." Marcus raised his hand like a student in class. "Can I ask a question?" "Of course," Dr. Veltar said. "If humans are really that unusual, why do most aliens think we're primitive?" Dr. Martinez and the alien researchers exchanged uncomfortable looks. "Because," Captain Zexai said slowly, "we've been judging your species by your technology, not your biology. We assumed that a younger civilization would be less advanced in every way. But biological advancement isn't always about age," Dr. Morphus added, his form shifting with realization. "Sometimes it's about environmental pressure and evolutionary challenges." Dr. Quantum's energy patterns conveyed what might have been embarrassment. "We've been so focused on technological superiority that we missed the fact that humans might be biologically superior in some ways." Marcus laughed. "I don't know about superior. We're just stubborn. Stubborn enough to rewrite the foundations of medical science," Dr. Kethvar observed. As the discussions continued, more reports arrived from across the galaxy. Human colonists on high-radiation worlds were showing natural resistance to conditions that required extensive medical support for other species. Human miners were working in environments that other races needed full life support to survive. Human explorers were venturing into regions of space that were considered too dangerous for anyone else. We need to completely reevaluate our understanding of human capabilities, Dr. Veltar announced. This could change everything about how we approach medicine, exploration, and even warfare. Warfare? Marcus asked with concern. Dr. Martinez's expression grew serious. That's something we need to discuss very carefully. If humans are really as resilient as these tests suggest, other species might see us as a threat, or as incredibly valuable allies, Captain Zexai suggested hopefully. Marcus stood up, stretching muscles that should have been severely damaged just days earlier. Well, whatever you decide, I still have a delivery to make to my daughter's school. The medical supplies won't deliver themselves. His simple focus on completing his mission despite everything that had happened perfectly embodied the human trait that had baffled the alien researchers. No matter how extraordinary the circumstances, humans seemed to maintain their focus on practical, immediate goals. Marcus, Dr. Veltar, said, "Would you be willing to work with us on further research? Your species' capabilities could help save countless lives across the galaxy." Marcus considered this seriously. Will it help other people? Definitely. Then yes. But I still need to make that delivery first. My daughter is counting on me. As the research teams began planning the most comprehensive study of human biology in galactic history, they couldn't help but smile at Marcus's priorities. Perhaps that unshakable focus on personal responsibility was the real secret behind human resilience. They were about to find out just how much more there was to discover about the species that refused to give up. 6 months after Marcus Chen's impossible surgery, the galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The research into human capabilities had revealed something that terrified and fascinated the galactic community in equal measure. Humans were not just unusually resilient, they were potentially the most dangerous species ever encountered. Dr. Veltar stood before the Galactic Council in the Great Chamber on Nexus Prime, her ethereal form dimmed with the weight of her findings. Representatives from 300 species filled the massive amphitheater, their various forms creating a tapestry of galactic diversity. All of them were there to hear about the humans. Honorable counselors, Dr. Veltar began. After 6 months of intensive research involving over 200 human volunteers, we have reached conclusions that will fundamentally alter our understanding of consciousness, biology, and warfare. The chamber fell silent. Even hive queens, who usually maintain constant telepathic chatter among themselves, went quiet. Human consciousness appears to operate on multiple dimensional levels simultaneously, Dr. Veltar continued. When we attempted to suppress awareness in one dimension, their minds simply shifted operation to another. This makes them effectively immune to most forms of mental control or manipulation. Counselor Thexmar, a crystalline being representing the oldest civilization in the galaxy, resonated with frequency patterns that conveyed deep concern. Are you saying humans cannot be rendered unconscious? Not without killing them, Dr. Veltar replied bluntly. And even then, we have documented cases of humans maintaining awareness for several minutes after what should have been brain death. A wave of uneasy movement rippled through the assembled representatives. Marcus Chun, who had been invited to speak to the council, stood up from his designated spot in the witness area. Over the past 6 months, he had become something of a celebrity, the human who had started a galactic revolution in medical science. He still wore the simple coveralls of a cargo hauler, having refused all offers of formal diplomatic attire. "If I may," Marcus said, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustics. "I think you're making this more complicated than it needs to be." Counselor Veltheri, a gaseous being who served as the council's military advisor, swirled with agitated patterns. "Mr. Chun, the implications of your species' capabilities are staggering. Humans appear to be nearly immune to most forms of non-lethal warfare." Marcus nodded. "That's probably true, but you're thinking about this wrong." "How so?" asked Counselor Nexus Prime, the hive mind representative. "You're treating this like it makes humans dangerous to you," Marcus explained. "But think about why we developed these abilities. We didn't evolve to be warriors. We evolved to survive." Dr. Quantum, who had continued studying Marcus and other humans, materialized near the speaking platform. Explain this distinction. Marcus took a moment to organize his thoughts. Every human capability you've discovered exists because at some point in our history, we needed it to survive. We don't stay conscious during medical procedures because we want to fight doctors. We stay conscious because falling asleep in a dangerous situation meant death for our ancestors. He gestured to the assembled representatives. You've all achieved space flight by working together, sharing resources, and developing technology cooperatively. Humans achieved it by surviving disasters, wars, plagues, and natural catastrophes that should have wiped us out completely. Counselor Thexmar's crystal form shifted to a frequency indicating curiosity rather than fear. You're suggesting that human resilience is defensive rather than aggressive. Exactly, Marcus said. We're not hard to kill because we're predators. We're hard to kill because everything else was trying to kill us first. Dr. Martinez, participating via hologram from Earth, added her voice to the discussion. The Galactic Council has access to our complete historical records. Review our development over the past 10,000 years. You'll see a species that survived ice ages, volcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts, pandemic diseases, and countless wars. We didn't develop these capabilities to conquer other species. We developed them to survive each other and our own planet. This perspective shift caused considerable discussion among the council members. For months, they had been debating whether humans represented a military threat to galactic peace. The possibility that human capabilities were primarily defensive rather than offensive opened new avenues for understanding. Counselor Yeldin, representing the Pacifist Coalition, spoke in harmonious tones that conveyed hope. If human resilience is indeed defensive, this could make them ideal peacekeepers rather than warriors. That's an interesting theory, said General Korthak, a massive reptilian being who commanded the galaxy's Joint Defense Forces. But theory and practice are different things. Mr. Chun, what happens when humans are actually threatened? Marcus considered this question carefully. He had hoped to avoid this topic, but honesty seemed important given the stakes. General, have you reviewed the reports from the colonial conflicts with the Razak pirates? General Korthak accessed his files quickly. Yes. Minimal human casualties despite being outnumbered 10-1. Highly unusual tactical responses. Why? Because when humans are actually threatened, we don't just survive, we adapt. And we do it really, really fast. Marcus activated a holographic display that showed tactical data from several recent conflicts involving human colonies. These are the results when someone tries to attack human settlements. The data was sobering. In every case, human defenders had not only survived initial attacks that should have been overwhelming, but had turned the tables with remarkable speed. They adapted to new weapons and tactics in real time, developed countermeasures that shouldn't have been possible with their available resources, and continued fighting effectively even after sustaining casualties that would have broken other species. Look at the Kepler 452b incident, Marcus continued. 200 human colonists held off 3,000 Razak raiders for 6 weeks using improvised weapons and tactics they invented during the battle. How is that possible? General Korthak demanded. Dr. Martinez answered from Earth. Human military doctrine is based on the assumption that you'll be outnumbered, outgunned, and fighting for your survival. We train for worst-case scenarios because those are the situations our species has faced throughout its history. But the weapons they improvised, General Korthak continued, some of them were more advanced than standard galactic military equipment. Marcus shrugged. Humans are good at improvising. When your survival depends on making something work with whatever you have available, you get creative fast. Dr. Veltar added more disturbing data to the discussion. Our research has revealed that humans in combat situations show enhanced learning rates, accelerated healing, improved reflexes, and increased resistance to fatigue and injury. These enhancements appear to activate automatically when humans perceive threats to themselves or others they care about. Others they care about? Counselor Nexus Prime asked. Human protective instincts extend beyond individual survival, Dr. Quantum explained. They will fight harder to protect their families, friends, and communities than they will to protect themselves. This creates a multiplier effect that makes human resistance exponentially more effective. Marcus thought about his own experience during the surgery, how his thoughts had focused on his daughter throughout the procedure. That's true. Humans don't just fight for themselves. We fight for our children, our friends, our ideals. Give a human something worth protecting, and we become very hard to stop. The council chamber erupted in discussion as the implications sank in. A species that became more dangerous when protecting others was unlike anything in galactic history. Most civilizations became more cautious when they had something to lose. Humans apparently became more formidable. Counselor Velthari posed the question that everyone was thinking. Are humans a threat to galactic peace? General Korthak, who had been studying the tactical data, answered first. Based on this evidence, humans could be the greatest military threat the galaxy has ever seen, or the greatest military asset. Asset? Asked Counselor Thexmar. Think about it, General Korthak continued. A species that refuses to give up, adapts to any threat, and fights harder when protecting others. If humans were our enemies, we would all be in serious trouble. But if they're our allies, Marcus stood up again. General, we don't want to be your weapons. But we've always been good at protecting people who can't protect themselves. Dr. Martinez nodded from Earth. Humanity has no interest in galactic conquest. We're perfectly happy with our current territories and our role in the galactic community. But if someone threatens our friends and allies, they'll discover why humans are hard to kill. Counselor Yeldin's harmonious voice carried new understanding. You're offering to be the galaxy's guardians. We're offering to be the galaxy's friends, Marcus corrected. But friends protect each other. The debate continued for hours, but gradually a consensus emerged. Humans were indeed dangerous, probably the most dangerous species the galaxy had ever encountered. But they were dangerous in defense of others rather than in pursuit of conquest. Their unique capabilities made them potentially invaluable as protectors of galactic peace. Dr. Veltar presented the research team's final recommendation. We propose that humanity be invited to join the Galactic Defense Initiative not as ordinary members, but as specialized guardians. Their unique capabilities make them ideally suited to handle threats that conventional forces cannot manage. General Korthak endorsed the proposal with enthusiasm. I agree. Give humans something worth protecting, and you'll have the most effective defenders in the galaxy. Marcus smiled as he listened to the discussion. 6 months ago, he had simply been trying to stay conscious during surgery so he could deliver medical supplies to his daughter's school. Now, he was apparently representing a species of galactic guardians. If we accept this role, Marcus said to the council, you need to understand something important about humans. What's that? Counselor Thexmar asked. We don't just protect our own species. When humans say friend, we mean it. Attack any member of the galactic community, and you'll have to deal with all of us. The chamber fell silent as the weight of this commitment settled over the assembled representatives. For the first time in galactic history, a species was offering to defend not just their allies, but everyone. The council realized a very human thing to do. 2 years had passed since Marcus Chen's surgery changed everything the galaxy thought it knew about humans. The Galactic Defense Initiative had been restructured around human capabilities, and the results exceeded everyone's expectations. Pirates fled at the first sign of human ships. Aggressive species reconsidered their expansion plans. Peace negotiations succeeded where they had failed for centuries, simply because all parties knew that humans would enforce any agreements reached. Marcus stood on the observation deck of the GDI flagship Harmony Shield, watching his daughter Emma play with a group of alien children in the ship's recreational area. At 8 years old, she had already shown the same casual resilience that had amazed the galaxy in her father. Yesterday, she had walked away from a playground accident that should have required emergency medical treatment, asking if anyone else needed help while her own cuts healed before the medical team could arrive. The children adapt even faster than the adults, Dr. Veltar observed, joining Marcus at the viewing window. Her ethereal form had become a familiar sight aboard human vessels, where she continued her research into human capabilities. Emma's generation is growing up knowing that being human means something special in the galaxy, Marcus replied. They're more confident than we were. Dr. Veltar's colors shifted to indicate contemplation. The preliminary studies of human children are remarkable. They show enhanced capabilities beyond even adult levels. Enhanced how? Their rate of learning and Adaptation appears to be increasing with each generation. Emma tested yesterday. She can process information at rates that approach computer speeds when she's motivated. Marcus wasn't surprised. Human children throughout the galaxy were displaying capabilities that defied explanation. They learned alien languages in days rather than months, understood complex technology intuitively, and showed problem-solving abilities that impressed even the galaxy's most advanced AIs. Captain Zexai approached them, his compound eyes bright with satisfaction. After Marcus's recovery, he had requested transfer to the human fleet, finding their approach to medicine and crisis management far more interesting than traditional protocols. Marcus, we're receiving a priority communication from the Outer Rim, Captain Zexai reported. The Corvash Collective has made first contact with something they can't handle. The Corvash Collective was one of the galaxy's oldest and most technologically advanced civilizations. If they couldn't handle something, it was genuinely dangerous. What kind of something? Marcus asked, already moving toward the command center. Unknown. They only said it was threatening their core worlds and that conventional weapons and defenses were ineffective. Marcus nodded grimly. This was exactly the kind of situation the human-led GDI had been created to handle. How long to get there? 6 hours at maximum hyperdrive. Send word to the fleet. We're moving out. Within minutes, the human response force was underway. 5 ships carrying carefully selected human crews, supported by alien specialists who had learned to work effectively with human tactical approaches. Each ship also carried families. Human doctrine held that people fought better when they were protecting those they loved, so military vessels included living areas for spouses and children. Dr. Martinez, now serving as the GDI's chief medical officer, briefed the fleet during the journey. Intelligence suggests we're dealing with an extra-dimensional entity that phases in and out of normal space-time. The Corvash have been fighting it for 3 weeks with no success. Casualties? Asked Commander Sarah Chun, Marcus's sister and the fleet's tactical coordinator. Minimal fatalities, but extensive psychological damage. The entity appears to attack consciousness directly, leaving its victims catatonic. Marcus exchanged glances with Dr. Veltar, an enemy that attacks consciousness directly, facing the species that refuses to let go of consciousness. There's some irony there. This could be exactly what human capabilities are designed to counter, Dr. Veltar agreed. When they arrived at the Corvash core system, the extent of the crisis became clear. 3 planets were under attack by something that phased in and out of visibility like a living shadow. Corvash ships hung motionless in space, their crews alive but unresponsive. On the planet's surfaces, entire cities had gone silent. Admiral Kothvin, the Corvash fleet commander, appeared on the communication screen. His usually regal bearing was replaced by obvious desperation. Humans, thank the void you've come, he said without preamble. We've lost over 40 ships and millions of ground personnel. Nothing we try has any effect on this entity. Tell us everything you know, Marcus requested. It appears to exist partially outside normal dimensions. Our weapons pass through it harmlessly. When it attacks, it seems to target the consciousness directly. Victims collapse instantly and cannot be revived. But they're alive? Dr. Martinez asked. Physically, yes. Mentally, there's no activity whatsoever. It's as if their consciousness has been completely severed from their bodies. Marcus studied the tactical display showing the entity's movements. It was massive, easily the size of a small moon, and moved through space without apparent regard for physics. When it passed near Corvash vessels or settlements, the crews simply stopped. We need volunteers for first contact, Marcus announced to his fleet. Every human on every ship immediately volunteered. Marcus smiled. That's what I thought you'd say. Sarah, take your tactical team and approach from Vector 7. Dr. Martinez, prepare for possible consciousness-related injuries. Dr. Veltar, monitor everything and be ready to adapt our approach based on what we learn. And you? Captain Zexai asked. You burn. Your awareness burns. I'm not trying to hurt you, Marcus said, though his mental pressure continued. I'm trying to understand you. But I need you to stop attacking innocent people first. Cannot stop. Must feed. Consciousness is sustenance. Marcus considered this. What if we could find you another food source? Something that doesn't involve hurting people. No other source exists. You might be surprised. Humans are good at solving problems. Over the next several hours, Marcus maintained mental contact with the entity while human scientists worked frantically to understand its nature. Dr. Veltar discovered that the creature was indeed extra-dimensional, feeding on the quantum energy patterns that made consciousness possible. We can synthesize that energy, Dr. Martinez announced. Human mental patterns produce more quantum consciousness energy than any other known species. We could generate enough artificial energy to feed this entity without harming anyone. The entity, still locked in mental contact with Marcus, considered this proposition. Artificial sustenance, possible. Possible, Marcus confirmed. But you have to stop attacking people and help us understand what you need. If artificial sustenance proves insufficient, Marcus's mental pressure intensified slightly. Then, we'll find another solution. But attacking innocent people is not acceptable. The entity's form stabilized as it reached a decision. I accept trial of artificial sustenance. But consciousness-bearer Marcus must remain as guarantee. Fine by me, Marcus said. Dr. Martinez, let's see if we can feed a cosmic entity. The process took 3 days. Human scientists, working with the entity's cooperation, developed quantum energy generators that could produce the specific patterns it needed for sustenance. The entity tested the artificial energy and found it acceptable. In fact, it was purer and more nourishing than natural consciousness energy. On the 3rd day, all the Corvash victims awakened simultaneously, their consciousness fully restored. Admiral Kothvin contacted the human fleet with a message that would be repeated throughout the galaxy. Humans have achieved the impossible once again. They turned a cosmic predator into an ally through negotiation and compassion. The entity, now calling itself the Guardian, agreed to serve as a protector for the region, feeding on the artificial energy provided by human generators while using its abilities to defend against threats from its native dimensions. Marcus returned to his ship to find Emma waiting for him in the docking bay. "Dad, did you make friends with the scary shadow thing?" she asked with the casual acceptance that had become typical of human children. "Something like that," Marcus replied, picking her up. "Sometimes the scariest things just need someone to listen to them." Dr. Veltar approached them, her colors indicating deep satisfaction. "Marcus, this changes everything again. You've proven that human consciousness isn't just resistant to attack. It can be used actively to solve problems we didn't even know were possible." "What do you mean?" "You didn't just resist an extra-dimensional entity. You communicated with it, understood it, and found a solution that benefited everyone involved. This suggests that human consciousness might be the key to interacting with threats we haven't even encountered yet." As the fleet prepared to return home, Marcus stood once again on the observation deck, watching the stars. In 2 years, humanity had gone from being considered a primitive species to being recognized as the galaxy's guardians. Not through conquest or domination, but through the simple refusal to give up on anyone or anything. His daughter played nearby with alien children who would grow up in a galaxy where consciousness was understood to be more powerful and flexible than anyone had imagined, where beings from different dimensions could be negotiated with rather than feared, where the impossible was just another word for hasn't been done yet. Captain Zexhai joined him at the viewing window. "What do you think comes next, Marcus?" Marcus smiled, thinking about all the challenges and wonders that awaited humanity and their galactic friends. "Whatever it is, we'll figure it out. Humans are good at that." Behind them, Emma laughed as she played a game that involved phasing in and out of different dimensional states with her alien friends. The next generation was already surpassing what their parents had accomplished. The galaxy was in very good hands indeed.